Here are the 6 dark psychology hacks that turn completely cold leads into high-ticket clients fast. We use these exact same tactics to have a 42% close rate with 2,000 plus sales calls every single month and being able to predictably get a lot more paid-in-fulls than monthly payment plans. And this generates us around $1.5 to $1.4 million a month in predictable revenue every single month. So all these agencies that you see online that are making 100K a month, we are 15 times bigger. Even if they're making $250,000 a month, we're still 6 times bigger. We run the ad space, and I need you to listen to this video. By the end of this video, you will know how to ethically use these tactics and just make a boatload more money and make your sales team more motivated and take the stress off your back as ad costs rise and the trust goes down. And this doesn't make you sound manipulative, salesy, insecure, or needy. So the first tactic is actually a phrase that sounds very counterintuitive, but it works like magic. And here's what you're gonna say to them. Before we even get to the investment piece, I need to know if I can even help you. What this does is it drops the sales resistance, and it's what we call a pattern interrupt. And that's the first dark psychology tactic, is pattern interrupts. That's why I always start my call by saying, before we move forward today, I need to know if I can actually help you, because it would be a disservice for me to sell you something you don't need. And there has to be correct timing when you use this. You can't just use this the first thing that comes out of your mouth. After you're done doing the intros and what the call is going to be like, then you do it right after the intro so that it's very smooth and less salesy. The more the prospect opens up, the more problems you're going to find they're going through and the more solutions and pain points that you're able to solve for them. And that's mostly what sales is. You're a therapist. The more they open up, the more you can condole them and obviously help them overcome the challenge. And that's what gets them, to build this bridge in their mind to go from their challenge or problems to your solution. And prospects stop seeing you as just another salesperson. They start looking at you as, someone different, someone who they can actually give real answers to, and they open up and don't give you these short, mini answers. On calls where there's sales resistance, you'll ask a prospect and they just say, yeah, okay. But if they open up, they might say, yes, we really need this because, we're losing salespeople, they're churning, we need more leads. Like, they're going to open up a lot more about what their problems actually are at the root cause. The second dark psychology tactic is what I call the triple dial technique. Now, most follow-up techniques are a voicemail, a call, a text. Most of these are outdated. And I'll explain to you what this triple dial technique is and why it works so well. Let's say someone books on the calendar and you want to get them to answer the phone to see if they're a good fit to stay on the calendar. We do a 3 dial in a row because most people have D&D on, so we got to get past D&D, dial 3 times, and then we say, we get to the qualification piece. You want to dial 3 times in a row to get past D&D, or people can block their notification. This gets past that. And let's say you triple dial and they still don't answer. Route that phone number and that contact card to a second rep and just let the phone numbers revolve. The more phone numbers they get, the more they're going to understand, wow, my phone's getting a lot of notifications. There must be an emergency. And now they're going to pick up that next call. So we usually let a loop between 3 phone numbers in like a numbered loop so that it gets the most response rates from people answer. And as far as the actual calls, if you get someone on the phone and they're qualified and they stay on the calendar, you want to send them a text after the call too. Don't just make them feel like they're a number. Send them a follow-up text. Really appreciate the conversation. Very excited to help you with X, Y, and Z. See you at X time tomorrow. It's a perfect follow-up text. You don't just want to set the call, expect emails and SMS automations to take care of everything for you. You got to have the little personal touch too. And those are SOPs that your SDRs need to have. Now, let's say they're a lead who hasn't booked a call and they did book. Now you want to send a different kind of text. That's a congratulatory text. Congrats. Really excited I got to talk to you and get you on the calendar to solve X, Y, and Z. I'm here to support you. And here's your Zoom link below for your call at X time tomorrow. Boom. Now you went from set to getting them on the calendar to congratulating them, high show rates. That's the biggest difference here. The third tactic is the fair enough close technique. You're only going to use this after you hear an objection. Okay, so let's say the prospect says, let me think about it. And then you say, Well, in order for you to think about it, I need to be able to supply the right information to think about it. So what can I send you here in an email or follow-up to make sure that you have the right information to go over so you can make the right decision? They start telling you information. You get it? Okay, cool. I have this stuff that we can go over right now. Is that fair enough to go over it and then we can make a decision? That's easier to say than, yeah, I'll email you and then, let's set up a follow-up call tomorrow and we can talk about how to move forward. Fair enough. Now we're letting time go between call and call. That leniency is going to have a longer sales cycle. So I'd rather get the information that they want me to send over and say, awesome, I can actually pull these answers up for you right now and then we can go over the investment. Fair enough. Or I actually have this information right now on me. And if I'm able to answer this, right, we can go over the investment. Fair enough. It lets you drop sales resistance. And the other side of the coin is that you can answer their questions and you don't even have to talk about the investment. You can say, hey, listen, I can give you these answers right now because I'm the only source of information. It's better for me to give it to you now than through a text email. Like, I'm not a big fan of text. And that's a good way to lean into that, getting back into the actual sale. Also, you can attach a bonus or something that's like fast or better results of what they're expecting to get as the thing to stay on the call longer. So you can say, hey, listen, I don't know if I can help you yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to do X, Y, and Z on this call. And I have some cool bonuses to give you if, you're the action taker that you look like you are. Sound fair enough? And that's a good way to lean into the pre-frame. Also, when you're done explaining the product, you can answer their questions about deliverables. Cool. Now that we know that the program does X, Y, and Z, and it's going to solve your X, Y, and Z, let's go over the investment and next steps. And that's a good way to lean into that piece of like the sale. You're basically getting permission for the sale. Instead of going into it, you're getting permission from the prospect. Because the more times they say yes, the easier the last yes is. When I reveal the price, I will simply just shut up. So I will say, for 8 weeks, it's $8,000. Right? And if you decide to move forward on the call, I'm going to throw in X and Y and Z. Shut up. Don't say a word. Sit there in silence. Do not speak, because if you speak before the prospect does, you now are going to look like you're needy for the sale for that yes. I just shut up and wait, because I'm letting them sit in silence to sell themselves, or they're going to ask something along the lines of, do you have any way to break up the payments? Now you're back in the sale, because they are in their minds selling themselves, and that's the best form of sales when you don't have to do that much and the prospect just sells himself. The fourth tactic is the tonality control technique. And this is why tonality matters more than words. If I'm talking like this, I'm really passionate. But if I go, I don't really know if I can help you yet, but if I can, I'll show you what that looks like and we can move forward on the call. Is that okay with you? Right? You're going confused tone. Right? Or let's say, for example, prospect fills out an application and that application says, that they're willing to make a decision on the call and they didn't need a spouse or a partner to make a sale. At the end of the call, you could say, I'm just a little confused. Can you help me out? He'll say, yeah. On your application here, I'm going through it. It says here that you don't need a spouse or partner. Did you lie to me, or can you clear this up for me? You look confused. That confused tone will get the resistance down, and you're basically proving the concept of, you're not saying it in a weird tone. If I would have said instead, well, Derek, in your application, now you look like you're attacking them. But if you go confused tone, it just sounds a lot better. That makes you sound like you're truly trying to help them. And also, what you don't want the prospect to do is agree to lying to you. It makes them feel guilty for lying in their application. Another big thing about tonality is when you are discussing the investment and the price, you need to have a consistent tonality. Do not raise and lower your voice at multiple times during the sale. Do not do that, because it's going to look like you're needy. Now you're confident. Needy, confident. Needy. You keep the same tone through the whole sale. You answer questions with the same tone. You ask for permission with the same tone. You stay in silence with the same tone. You don't go up and down, or it's going to cause your prospect to get triggered. And there's a small technique that I use. I call it the 20 interval. And basically what I'll do is I'll say the price 20 times. Practice with my own tonality. So what I'll say is, for the 4 months, the investment is $7,500 today and $7,500 when we double your money back. That sounds better than, so the investment is $7,500 now and $7,500 when we double your money. You see how when I'm talking faster and with more confidence and my chest is out, I start stuttering. I start looking unconfident. Be calm with the prospect. They're about to make a big investment decision. Don't steer them away because you wanted to feel like being more cocky and confident was going to get the sale. Sometimes being too intimidating actually takes away the deal. It just does, because they're like, it's just too masculine for me. It's just too overhaul for me. I'm going to find somebody else, right? Regardless of price. They might just feel like it's not a good fit for them culturally or personality basis. And this helped out my team's close rate a lot. Like it went from 24-ish, 25% to well over 38, 39%. Okay, we started just talking with more cautious tone, being more docile, not being so, yeah, so let's get into it. Let's see what the investment looks like. Instead, it's very slow paced. Let them understand that I'm not in a rush. If I feel like I'm in a rush, right? When you're talking louder, you feel like you're in a rush. When you're on that really good tonality, you're like, so this is what it's going to look like for the 4 months. Just keep on, I'm very excited for you, but I want to break this down for you so you have more context and detail, right? So here's what you're going to get. You see how nice of a tone that sounds instead of, yeah, so here's what you're going to get. We're very excited for you to join the program. Like now we look needy and too upbeat. Because if our tonality in the beginning is very slow, like what I did before, and then once I get to the pitch, it's higher. Now the prospect can sense it. The prospect's like, oh, he's getting excited about the sale, getting excited, resistance, right? Once in a while, you can make a joke or make them smile, make them laugh. You'll have ups and downs. Usually when I hear an objection, I like to take care of it very nicely. Someone says, oh, what kind of results can I expect? Grant, that's a great question. I know you're in X niche. Let me pull up a couple of case studies for you so that I can give you some expected results when you join the program today. I'm framing small words like today and now and things like that to make sure that he's framed to move forward too. I do that very consciously. It's very good, by the way. It works very well. If these tactics are helping you, like I'd love to help you implement this in the business and help you with your funnels and ads and lead gen and getting your sales to hit new targets quarter after quarter. Tactic number 5 is the talking ratio rule. When you're on a one-to-one call with a prospect, you want the prospect to talk 70% of the time. And you should be talking 30%. So Fathom actually tracks your talking time. I want you to stay within KPI there. It's basically a video recorder. You probably know what that is, but make sure your talking time on calls is 30% or lower. The more you're talking, the more you're overcompensating. The more the prospect talks, the more opened up they are, the more passionate they are, and the more urgent they are about getting your solution to their challenges and problems. If a prospect doesn't talk as much, that means they're not that interested. You got to get that prospect to open up and get that talk time 70-30. Just some examples of open-ended questions that get prospects to open up more are, why did you decide to book a call with us today? Like what urged you to book a call with us today? Use that word urge. It helps build urgency. So what urged you to book a call with us today? Let's say the prospect's talking about why they're not getting a lot of leads. So what is not getting a lot of leads doing to the business right now? Like how much is it affecting revenue? They start yapping again. Go, 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 go. Okay. And, it seems like this is a really big challenge. Like, how soon do you want this fixed? Like, I assume now, right? Yes, now. Yeah. Okay. And what other options have you tried in the past? Like, what have you tried doing yourself that didn't work? We loop that to knowing that they can't do it themselves. I asked that question where it's like, what have you tried yourself that didn't work? And now they're labeling why they can't do shit themselves. And then some other open-ended questions are something along the lines of, well, what's going to happen if your business keeps operating like this? Are you satisfied with the business running the way it is? Well, of course you're not. That's why you wouldn't have booked a call with us, right? So that's what we're here to help you with. You see how the tonality comes back? Like these are small things that I've learned over 7 years of selling, where it's like it's easier to sell than ever before, as long as you play with tonality, word choice, open-ended questions. And then also you can ask open-ended questions that make them sell the program to themselves. So let's say you share the program. You say, what about this is the most exciting for you? And then they start talking about, oh, well, you do this and this and this. Well, just so I know, so I can tell the team, you're at point A right now. I want to make sure that 4 months from now that you're at point B. Like what results would be kick ass and realistic for you, right? So now you're using tonality, you're getting them back in, and then you're basically talking about what they're going to want to see results as. Awesome. Based off what you've told me, first off, I want to say thank you for being transparent and giving me all the numbers, because I know it's hard for people to talk about personal things like that. We get a lot of people every single day, and I want to commend you for that. Now, when you're trying to go from point A to point B, here's what you're going to need to do so, because what you've told me is X, Y, and Z is not working. Correct? Cool. So here's what we're going to do to solve those bottlenecks. But I always like to say this to everybody, like solving these things are great, and you showed up to the call. Like you did the first thing first, which was showing up. Means you want to show up for the business. Now it's time to show up for an investment, because showing up without an investment doesn't solve your problems, right? So for us to solve this and this and this, here's what I'd like to propose to you. And you would fit right into X. And now you're leading into the offer. It was just easier that way to get the open-ended questions that then give you ammo to then sell them the solutions to their problems. Okay. Also, while the prospect's talking, I like to have a Google Doc open. I'll share my screen. And while the prospect's talking, I'm taking notes about their KPIs, their numbers, what things haven't worked, what things have worked, all these things. As the salesperson, I can start nitpicking these things of like, okay, I wouldn't change this. I would change this. Here's how we can help him do this. And now we have it on a Google Doc to where there's no one that can do the whole he said, she said, or the whole, well, he told me X, and that's where we set expectations. That Google Doc being up is massively important. We're just typing out all their notes, because if we're not taking notes, that means we don't care about the prospect talking, and people want to care about what they're saying, and if they're not being heard, they don't care about talking anymore. So while that prospect's talking about their goals and where they're at and where they want to go and the biggest challenges, you better be jotting them down on a Google Doc. And then you make a big line below the notes, and then you get into what you're going to do. And the exact verbatim word by word deliverables with investment, and then you just simply give them the choice of, hey, listen, which path would you like to go today? And the last tactic is the objection reversal framework. And these objections mostly come up, at the end of the call, because regardless of some of these things that I've taught you, there still might be a little bit of sales resistance. Some people have skin in the game. Some people don't have skin in the game. It's hard for them to buy things, on the spot. Also based on certain price points, based on cash flow, assets, liquidity, all these things. So like some big objections that you'll get are, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my spouse. Let's circle back sometime this week. Those are probably the three things that I'll get. And when I do get the I need to think about it objection, I'll respond with this. That makes sense. Most people need to think about it before making a really big decision like this. I'm the only source of information that you have to make this decision. What exactly do you need to think about so I can clear this up for you, right? That nice tonality gets them out of sales resistance, gets them back into conversation. Let's say the wife objection. I need to talk to my wife later about this. Awesome. So who owns the business, Grant? Oh, I do. And who's going to be the one doing the calls and doing the onboarding and doing the X? Oh, I am. Now, with that being said, do you want to place the accountability of the success of this program on you or your wife? Who deserves that accountability? You. So you have to make that decision to commit now so that you can stay committed through the program. Most people who go to their partners, they do it because they just want clarity and reassurance that what they're doing is correct, right? Maybe it's not too expensive, which we can help you with, and maybe it's not the right time for it currently. But you told me that, X and Y and Z are really bottlenecking the business. Is this something that you can stand to wait another week? Prospect's probably going to say no. Exactly. And that's why you booked a call today. What I would want you to really understand is that you are the business owner. You are going to be the one in the program. You're the one going to be making the decisions in the program. Your wife is there to give you emotional support. If you go to her now, you have two choices. You could say, hey, babe, I made this investment and I'm really scared. She's now going to take that and say, okay, I'm worried for you too. Maybe you shouldn't do that right now. Or you can go to her and say, hey, babe, I've been suffering from these three things for a while. I made an investment in the business to make sure that these three things don't happen again so that we can make more money, give our kids a better life and, go to that trip to Hawaii that we always wanted to go to that you told me about in the beginning of the call. Like all these things are going to happen because you solve those challenges. And I want to help you do that. Do you think your woman is going to trust you more if you come to her in confidence or in fear? And that's where you start to get out of that whole wife objection. Also, when you are going through these objections, right, you're going to be able to isolate the real one. Either it's payment plan, it's price, it's a deliverable in the program that they don't like, or it's, I saw it somewhere else for cheaper. You got to isolate that objection. And also it might be about risk. It might be about the fear of risk. That's why I like to build my offers in a way where, if you check out this one video that I recorded about my webinar strategy, I talk a lot about offer stacking and why I look at risk as a big piece of that and how to solve that on your offer. So you can check that video out as well. But I look at taking as much risk off the prospect's plate as possible. You want to make it a mutual relationship, right? So when you're looking at your offer, sit there and go, hey, am I getting a lot of fear-based objections at the end of the call? I should probably switch up my offer. So think about those things as well. This isn't only about sales. It's also about the messaging and the offer and the copy. Like those things matter a ton, which I do break down in the video. So go check it out. And also when we are going back through those objections, right? And we isolate the real one, if I was able to do this for you to solve the real objection, would you get started today? Or if I was able to break this up into 3 payments, would you get started today? Or if I was able to do X and give you X amount of extra support, would you do this today? That's where you're getting the permission, where it's kind of like the fair enough technique. If I were able to get you an extra 4 calls with Jason and break the payments up, is that fair enough? Every single month through this YouTube channel, I open up a couple of spots every month to work with some really sophisticated, serious business owners. If you want to click the link in the description, click that calendar link, book a call with one of my senior advisors. We'll be happy to help you with paid advertising and your traffic campaigns. And we don't just help you with sales. We have sales training every single Thursday. We run all your campaigns, do all your funnels, do all your emails, all your creatives, all your editing, all the campaign management, all the tracking, and all the lead gen nurtures and processes. And we also build webinar funnels for all my coaches, consultants, online service pros, and course and info sellers to sell one-to-many. We have a lot of great options for you. I'd love to take care of you. So just click the link below, and I hope you enjoyed these 6 dark psychology tactics that you can start implementing in your sales process today and start collecting more cash. So that being said, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video.